Most scholars considered the Sumerians' writings as myths, but not everyone.
When these ancient texts speak of these strange beings that have descended from the sky, we should look at it as such and not add symbolism to it or interpretation. Well, they could have meant this or they could have meant that, when it could be very, very simple. That, hey, we were visited by ETs.
But according to the ancient astronauts theory, ETs didn't just visit us, they actually created us, in ways almost too shocking to believe. But is there proof? This ancient skull could be the evidence we need that hundreds or even thousands of years ago, aliens came to Earth and bred with humans.
They saw those among the humans that they thought were fair and took them as wives.
The mystery of how we arrived on Earth is a big part of the ancient astronauts theory. Mainstream scientists agree that modern humans evolved from an ancestor we share with other primates. But Homo sapiens has walked the planet for over 100,000 years, and experts have long wondered what sparked the sudden rise of civilization a mere 6,000 years ago.
This missing link was an extraterrestrial intervention in our genes. Because one thing is extremely clear. A quantum leap happened from us being in the caves, and then all of a sudden, we're building pyramids.
Ancient astronaut proponents claim that the spark for human civilization came from deep space, when aliens swooped down, impregnated our women, and took off. It's the age-old story of love 'em and leave 'em.
There was interbreeding going on. It talks about it in the Bible, how the sons of God had come down and found that the daughters of man were very attractive, and they cohabitated with them and produced offspring.
But did they just leave us, or did they stick around for a while? Some ancient astronaut theorists now say that the story of our creation wasn't quite so romantic. They suggest the way it actually happened was more like genetic manipulation. The earliest creation story involves the Sumerian gods creating humans from tubes, jars, and clay. And if you subscribe to the ancient astronauts theory, the gods doing this creating aren't actually gods, they're aliens. But whether they mated with us or created us out of clay, one question still remains unanswered. Why?
The extraterrestrials did not dirty their hands. They had an obedient workforce here on Earth that worshipped them as gods.
They needed a workforce.
The ancient astronauts had come here for one reason, for mining. And not only did they have them working in the mines, but they were also raising animals, growing crops. They basically were a servant to the gods.
We may find a clue as to when the aliens started working here in China, with an interesting people called the Dropa.
The Dropa allegedly is an extraterrestrial race that has still survived here on planet Earth.
As the story goes, in 1938, an archaeologist discovered a strange gravesite in a cave near the China-Tibet border. Inside, he found tiny skeletons with large skulls. He also found some strange stone discs with microscopic inscriptions embedded in grooves. Although bizarre, his discovery was overlooked for 20 years, until someone claimed to have translated the stone's inscriptions. They supposedly told a story of beings that had crash-landed on our planet 12,000 years ago.
They were stranded. They developed a civilization, a village, and they continued to flourish and plant crops. And in the end, they became the ancestors of the Chinese race.
It's a claim fantastic enough to have warranted further investigation. But we may never know the truth, because many people claim that the Chinese are keeping the evidence under lock and key.
And ask yourself, why are there 1.2 billion Chinese on Earth? because they were here first.
Incredible. But how?
But there is a skull not unlike the one supposedly found in China that might tell a similar story. And we can examine this skull to find out what its history may be. It was found by a teenage girl in Mexico 70 years ago.
She went in and she saw a skeleton lying on its back. She was able to scrape the dirt away with her hands and reveal a skeleton lying in the hole, and which she said was misshapen.
Since that day, the skull has changed hands at least twice. Today, Ray and Melanie Young like to think of themselves as the skull's parents.
I had a friend that was working with me, and her husband had come into it from the lady who actually found it because of my background as a neonatal nurse, and he asked me to look at it. And first he showed me a picture, and the picture was just of this part of the face, and I looked at it and thought, I have no idea what that is.
They wanted to find out once and for all what its story was, so they brought in alternative knowledge guru Lloyd Pye to investigate.
There was just no doubt in our mind that he was the person to take over.
The first thing I did, I was on my way to a very big UFO Congress in Laughlin, Nevada. So I suggested that they allow me to take the two skulls to this conference that I was going to, where there were going to be 500 people, many of whom would be very highly knowledgeable about this kind of material, and see if they agreed.
What they found surprised everyone.
They were unanimous in their assertions that this skull looked very much like it would fit in the head of a gray.
A grey alien is the kind many people say they've seen here on Earth.
So then I was fully committed to the idea of taking it to scientists.
One of the first things Lloyd did was to find out exactly how old the skull was. He took it to a lab in Miami for radiocarbon dating and discovered that it was 900 years old. Then the scientists looked at the skull under a microscope. They were amazed to find a strange red residue and unusual strong fibers inside the bone.
So there are two great anomalies, but it is absolutely one of a kind as far as we know, and as far as anybody we took that material to, mycologists and others, know. Never been seen before.